But now I'd like to invite to the stage a very special guest from Coca-Cola to talk about, to share her insights on the ever-evolving landscape of human engagement experiences. Please invite me to the stage, Mahen Ansari, Global Human Insights at Coca-Cola Company. Welcome.
Thank you, Gabby. This environment takes a little bit of getting used to, but thank you, my Coca-Cola colleagues, who are here to support me. Lunchtime sessions aren't easy, so my goal will be to try and keep you guys awake for the next 20 minutes. A warning before we start, this is a little bit of a different presentation, so if you're here expecting some data slides and research reports, some capability information, I'm not giving you any of those, so the data geeks and data nerds should probably exit now. This is a slightly different talk that I'm planning to have with you guys today. It's about a journey that we ourselves are on as the Coca-Cola Company, and I'd like to share some insights with you regarding that. So my name's Mahen Ansari. I work in the Global Human Insights function at the Coca-Cola Company. And my topic today is about amplifying brand engagement through human-centric experiences. I should probably grab this now to keep us going. So before I move further on, let's start by talking about what experiences actually are. I feel like experiences are a little bit of a buzzword in our industry today, but at the very heart of them, as you start to peel the onion and decode what experiences are, it's essentially each and every interaction that our consumers, our humans have with our brands across multiple touch points. So be it communication and advertising, be it the packaging, the product itself, the online digital presence we have through our websites, our mobile apps, our social media presence, our in-store activation, the store ambience, the store layout, how our products show up on shelf, the displays, events, all of these constitute different types of experiences. And really, in this new world today, consumers need each and every one of these interaction points to mean something, to go over and beyond. Consumers really expect meaningful experiences, and that's really what the topic of my talk today is. It's no longer good enough for us to deliver the basics across any of these touch points. For brands to really show up and break through the clutter, we must meet our consumers' needs across a vast spectrum of these specific cases, from personalized, seamless, value-driven, ethically conscious experiences that really make our consumers feel valued and understood. That's really where the opportunity and the future, we believe, for brand engagement is. And this change in the consumer mindset and this sort of shift from what we call materialism to experientialism isn't really new. We find that it started to set in towards the end of the last century, where in the 1900s, it was all about accumulating objects as a way to signify wealth and status. So the next biggest car, the most expensive watch you could buy. But with the onset of the 20th century, we see a significant shift in our consumers' desire to experience things that are non-material. With the consumers being now more globally connected and experiences sometimes being as simple as a click of a button away, with the onset of social media, it's that much easier for our consumers to be part of an experience. And then what that means is that experiences really are the new currency for how we drive brand engagement. But of course, not just any experience is good enough for our consumers. The truth is that in this media-rich world, our consumers are becoming impatient and demanding. So for us to be able to, as brands, to engage them, we need to go over and beyond and cut through the clutter and need to deliver something that's truly compelling, meaningful, that makes it worth their while to engage. Consumers now require products to go beyond their traditional use cases and expand their benefits to creating or contributing towards an experience and a memory. In fact, what we see is a majority of consumers say that when they dine out, it's no longer just about having a good meal or having a good atmosphere. It's really about the experience that that dining out now provides. And this desire for experiences cuts through generations. A lot of us have that impression that it's about the younger consumers. It isn't really. It cuts through generations. It cuts through all demographics. Obviously, it increases the more income and the more affordability you have, but it's something that's universally true for all our consumers. So let's switch gears and talk about why we believe that this focus on experiences is essential for our brands to be able to drive meaningful engagement. Ultimately, an experience poses the opportunity of a two-way value exchange that creates a win-win for a consumer and a brand. If experiences are delivered well, they can unlock heightened, irresistible, crave-worthy brand engagement by delivering and exceeding on consumers' expectations, really tapping into those deeply felt aspirations and desires, and ultimately resulting in dynamic relationships. In other words, brand love. That's really where the magic, the power is. But this brand love isn't organically earned. And we all can think of many experiences that we've all been part of for brands that we engage with that were fun, enjoyable, but didn't really lead us to do something differently or to act differently. So really what we believe the magic is for an experience to be able to really nudge consumers, entice them to engage, is by starting with the consumer and the human at the very center of the experience. So now I'll go through the next few slides to talk about what we believe as a Coca-Cola company, what the components of these human-centric experiences are. And I'll talk about each of them in a little bit more detail. So we believe there's three components of a truly human-centric experience, and unsurprisingly, it starts with keeping the consumer at the center of the experience, shifting away from the brand as the center to what's in it for the human, all the way from what's the need, the pain point, the desire that this solves or taps into for our consumers, what's in it for them, needs to be at the start of the experience. To then thinking about in which environment, in which a channel, occasion, which context is this experience most meaningfully delivered for my consumers. And then this varies for the type of consumer, the type of market you could be looking at. But keeping that in mind is critical to how we tailor the experience to win in those environments. These could be digital environments, could be physical environments, could be a combination of the two. And ultimately, the third one is really how we deliver the experience. In other words, how do we nudge the consumer through very clear executional tactics that drive them towards brand conversion, because that's ultimately what the goal is. So like I said, I'll touch on each one of these in a little bit more detail. I'll share a few examples from within the industry that we believe have managed to crack the code. And hopefully that should help bring these themes to life for you. So the first one of the three was about starting with the consumer need in mind. We believe that it's important for an experience to start with that consumer pain point, that learning, that insight that unlocks really what this experience will be about. It's no longer just enough to have a fun, enjoyable experience for our consumer. Ultimately, it needs to be coupled with a valuable product that fulfills a consumer need and results in that lasting brand engagement. And to be able to do that, we believe there's 4 elements of what we call the human experience interface. And hopefully none of these are surprising for you. But as we start to peel the onion on each one of them, it makes you think about to what extent are we bringing them into the way we deliver our experiences. So the first one of these is the sensorial element of the experience itself. This is typically the first way in which us as humans engage with an experience. How does it sound? How does it feel? How does it sound? How does it look? How does it tantalize all of my senses to really sort of draw me in? Is the very first one. And this is really the way in which we kind of develop familiarity towards an experience. The second one of these is, how does this make me feel? Oh, sorry, it's gone. I think I've got my slides a bit warped, but yeah, the second input experience is then the physical element of the experience, which is how does it deliver on my core functional needs as a human? Us as humans all have some basic needs around feeling comforted, feeling full, feeling safe, feeling healthy. So that's the next thing that we need to think about in our experience. How are we delivering the core functional needs of our humans? This then ladders up to the next one, which is the emotional response that this experience then yields in our consumers. How does it make them feel? This is usually the way in which consumers remember our experience. And finally, how meaningful the consumers find this experience. Does it align with the core values that we have? Does it align with who we are as humans, our purpose in this world? Typically what we find is that this tends to be an afterthought in the way we design experiences, but the truth is, this is really the way in which consumers decide if they'd like to experience this again or not. When you align positively with consumers' values, they'd come back and want to be part of it again. If you misalign with consumers' values, that's when you typically lose them and they disengage. So this element of values is an incredibly important one. So again, a couple of examples that are my personal favorites, but I'm sure each one of you have yours. But this idea of using sensorial cues is something that brands have been working on since years as a way to build familiarity, memorability, that ta-dum sound of Netflix. Again, you could be anywhere in the world and that sound cues the Netflix screen being launched. Or the roar of the MGM lion. Again, really iconic, immediately cues that brand itself. So again, sensorial cues can really be kind of your initial way in to cue familiarity for your brand. Moving on to physical needs or functional needs, as I talked about in my human experience interface. Again, Netflix as an example here again, they're very intentional in the way they design the user interface of their Netflix screen to be able to sort easily through consumers' options, keeping in mind that the ultimate need for consumers and that particular experience is the need for choice, the need for simplicity, and having the titles lined up by trending now or top picks for you. Again, really easy, but they've made sure to keep that functional need forefront for their consumers. So again, a really good example of delivering functional needs or physical needs through an experience. Moving on to emotional cues or emotional responses. What we find, particularly in the post-pandemic world, and I'm sure a lot of you as researchers are seeing that in your industries as well, is that the role of emotions and personal goals has taken a whole new focus in the post-pandemic world. And consumers really look for that emotional connection as a way to decide if they'd like to engage with an experience. And there's three particular spaces or areas that we find have come to the forefront when you think about emotional needs of consumers. The first of these is the need to feel confident, assured, so grounded in the present, but having the confidence and being self-aware of who you are or who you want to be. Included or being part of a community, being part of something bigger is another key emotional theme. And finally, what that all ladders up to is this feeling of self-empowerment, uncovering your true personal potential and how you can improve yourself and achieve your goals and aspirations. Just one example that I chose here, again, one of my favorites from within the industry is the example that P&G have from Always, the Like a Girl campaign. Again, this is a great example of how that company and that brand took a topic that had these social taboos associated with being a girl and flipped it into a positive to make it a message of empowerment, confidence, accomplishment for women. Again, the importance of keeping the underlying emotion for the consumer was obviously at the forefront of that particular campaign. But again, we can think of many examples from within the industry where emotions and the desired emotion for the target consumer was at the forefront of the way they designed that. So that kind of wraps up my first section, which is around keeping the consumer need at the center of the experience. And just the last couple of things that I just want to say on that particular one is that the key here is to start from typically the focus on the brand itself, which is what does the product deliver, what is the functional benefit of the brand and the product itself, to elevating and connecting it to the psychological, emotional, and social outcomes of the target consumer. So again, that shift from the brand at the center to the consumer and the human at the center is where we believe the opportunity is. Moving on to the next one, which is being mindful of the environment in which the experience will be delivered. In fact, being choiceful about which environment is best suited for our consumers to engage with that experience, and how do we tailor that experience to be suitable to that particular environment. So reaching consumers in their realities is the second theme. So again, experiences can be delivered in any one of these realities. It can be a physical experience, it can be a digital experience, it can be something in between. but being intentional about how do we reach our consumers in those particular environments, and how we tailor the experience to be able to succeed and perform in that environment is the opportunity, all the way from physical experiences really about being the ones that are device-free, where it's all about the in-person interaction, it's about the human touch, and really that multi-sensorial, immersive nature of the experience that you can create. To digital experiences, which are essentially device-only, which are all about the intuitive and efficient user interface, but also about the high-quality content and the personalized nature of that particular experience, where you have the ability to very narrowly target your consumer in that particular environment and deliver them what they need to be able to drive brand engagement. But then you also have the in-between, which is the reality of a lot of our experiences today, which is the hybrid or device-aided experience, where you really take the best of both the worlds very intentionally and use them to design the experience. So the trick or the key here is about how do you make them integrated across online and offline so it feels like a seamless experience that's actually value added for the consumer, so it's not injecting devices in a physical environment for the sake of it, for the gimmicky nature of it, which we can often get distracted by. But it's really about what's the value that devices or that digital interaction can add in a physical space. Making that seamless, making that consistent is really what the key is in that particular environment. So that's about how we be choiceful about the way we reach our consumers in their physical, digital, or hybrid realities, which is essentially the second of the three pillars around human-centric experiences. The third one is about how we nudge the consumer to be able to act. Because that's essentially the ultimate goal of our experiences as brands, as marketeers, as insights professionals. That's really what we're about. How do we deliver an experience that can nudge our consumer, that can increase our brand engagement, our advocacy, and ultimately conversion? That's the ultimate goal. But oftentimes we realize that this becomes a little bit of an afterthought, and we get too attracted by the shiny part of the experience itself. So this one is about how do we think about the executional tactics that we can embed in the way that our experiences are designed, are delivered to be able to achieve that consumer engagement. And there's a little sort of a simple, I love formulas. I'm a researcher and a mathematician at heart. So again, a simple formula to help bring that to life for you. We believe there are 4 key components of executional tactics that a brand can employ to be able to nudge consumers and drive that purchase and advocacy. It starts first with a strong human insight that becomes the springboard for a core creative idea. What's in it for my consumer? What problem does this solve? What need does this deliver? What pain point does it address? How can I delight them? And that becomes the starting point of the creative idea that's grounded in the relevance and context of our humans. That's the starting point. The next one then is, what is the holistic, superior value proposition? And remember, it's the proposition, not the price point alone. How do I make it worthwhile for my consumers to engage in this? What's in it for them in terms of both money and time? That's the second component. Why would they engage in this versus whatever else is out there as options for them? The third one is about seamless continuity, being mindful, as we looked at in the earlier slides, that our humans exist in a variety of different realities. How do we create an integrated, seamless experience that takes them from one reality to the other in the easiest way? So really kind of integrating our experience across key touch points is the third one. And then finally, timely engagement, being very choiceful and mindful about where do I reach my consumer with what? So in other words, thinking through all the key points on their consumption and their purchase journey, overcoming drivers and barriers at each one of those steps to deliver to our consumers what they most need and what they're most likely to be receptive of is the fourth one. And all of that comes together to then unlocking the engagement and conversion at the first moment of truth, which is our ultimate goal with any experience. So again, a couple of examples here, just to sort of bring those to life for you, which we believe that are some of the best-in-class ones in the industry. This one here is one of my personal favorites. It's a Cadbury experience from a couple of years ago, which was freshly coming out of the pandemic. Consumers were not able to engage with people they love. They wouldn't be able to see them face to face. And Cadbury came up with a really cool idea. Again, they started with the human need, the tension, the reality that the humans, the target audience, was facing at that time. And they created the Secret Santa postal service. In other words, consumers came across posters all across London of Cadbury, where by simply scanning a QR code, they were taken into a really digital-friendly user experience on the Cadbury website, and then they were able to post a chocolate of their choice to a loved one. Again, beautiful. Beautifully done. Again, clearly the human at the center of it, but the brand value of it is pretty clear as part of that. So a win-win situation for both the brand and the consumer. The other one is, again, well, I saw a lot of IKEA colleagues in the crowd yesterday. So another one of my personal favorites. And again, IKEA as a brand, again, our personal perspective is are really mindful of that ultimate shopping experience that can really help drive conversion for them by starting with the human need of engaging them, being able to imagine and visualize their products, their furniture in the humans' homes. But they took that up a notch when they opened up the home experience of tomorrow in Shanghai, where consumers were encouraged to come in, explore their furniture, explore the accessories, talk to some of the influencers that were available on site there as well, and really take part in that immersive experience that helped them engage with the brand themselves. Ultimately, the goal being making it easy for them to explore and to choose and purchase what they need. So again, keeping that first moment of truth, the purchase occasion, which for us is critical to be able to drive conversion at the front and center of the way the experience is created. So those are the three themes that I had. I was just going to wrap up now in the last 5 minutes with a few key takeaways for you to think about, and then also a few provocations and asks that I have to all of you as fellow insight practitioners, as marketeers, and I'll close with that and see if we have a couple minutes to take questions at the end. So just to wrap up, what we believe are the 3 must-dos for amplifying brand engagement, starting with that consumer at the center of the experience across any one of those touch points that I shared with you at the start, and being mindful of delivering to the consumer what they need with that experience, but really kind of playing upon all of their needs, from their multisensorial to their physical to their emotional needs, and ultimately aligning with their values. Being mindful of where the consumers are, how best you can reach your target audience, in which environment, and what do you need to deliver to maximize engagement in that particular environment, being the second one. And finally, how we could be more contextually relevant, really think about communicating the holistic brand value proposition across touch points, overcoming barriers for consumers, and really nudging them towards that ultimate goal of purchase and advocacy. That, for us, we believe, is the recipe for a truly human-centric experience, and that leads to some very clear must-dos for what we believe we should be advocating for in the design of any one of those experiences. So lastly, I'd like to leave you with 4 provocations. This is me reaching out to you as fellow insight practitioners, where I believe we need to really push the agenda as an insight industry to truly put our humans back in the center of brand experiences. The first one of these is about how do we become insight advocates, which we truly are, but really push a strong insight at the starting point of every experience, really pushing for, and sometimes it's part of kind of asking for that as part of the brief, or really kind of pushing that in conversations with our fellow brand colleagues. What is the human need? Does this truly address a pain point, or is this really just about the brand and what the brand wants to communicate? And it's usually a sweet spot between the two. I'm not saying we become completely blind to what the brand proposition is, but it's really kind of bringing that together with the consumer need. That's the sweet spot. So I think that's where I think there's a lot of value in us pushing the agenda of human needs to ensure it's the starting point for all briefs. The second one is about how we continuously evolve our methodologies and approaches. And again, we've seen some really good examples over the last couple of days of how we're already pushing the agenda as an industry towards that. But do we really have powerful capabilities to unlock inside platforms that allow us to really kind of co-create each one of these experiences with the consumer in mind more iteratively, but also the ability to flag early on if something doesn't align with consumer needs and how we could optimize to maximize success with the humans in the future. So a big push towards continuously updating and evolving our methodologies is the second one. The third one, which is sort of linked, again, a lot of talk of this over the last couple of days, is complementing the power of human insight and intelligence with AI. And I've choicefully used the word complementing here because I do believe there is value in bringing and harnessing the best of both of these. Particularly the human curiosity, the human creativity. How do we harness that, nurture that, not lose that in this new world of AI, and bring that together with the speed, the agility, the scalability that AI brings. So it's really kind of about complementing and bringing the best of the two forward. And the last one is adopting a growth mindset. And I think, again, here as well, how do we nurture that desire to never stand still, to continuously learn, how each one of us are investing, I would say, a quarter of our time, if not more, in really kind of thinking through what's next. So we are future ready. We're future-proofing ourselves as an industry to be prepared for what comes next, but also helping future-proof our brands as well to be set up to win in the future. So not standing still, continuously innovating, learning, and having that growth mindset. And that's it. And I can see 30 seconds on the clock. So that's all I had for you today. Hope that left you with some food for thought and something to ponder on. Thank you so much.